Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to top 10 punishments in history you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Or as what I'm assuming is just the top 10 worst punishments in history. But yeah, fun little video to do. Probably not going to be like for the faint-hearted, but you know how it is. I do these sort of reactions and it's always interesting to learn what sort of ways people were treated in the past. I don't know if this is like how prisoners used to be like sort of punished or what, if this was just how, I don't know, how any sort of society would have treated people for doing what, like breaking the laws of what the laws were back in those days. But yeah, we're going to get into this. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Links in the description to my Instagram, my Twitter, same for my Patreon for those who want to see extra reactions that get blocked on YouTube. But let's just get into it, man.
We often learn about history and find that we can be grateful for how much things have changed, and that is exactly what is going to be happening here today. There were some messed up punishments that existed in the past, with most ending up in death, and today we are going to be talking about just a few.
Most?
Because there truly are
Wait, so there's some where people will be tortured but not be killed?
so many. It's
Oh
super
my
messed up. Today is not for the weak stomach or for the faint of heart, so watch as you dare, Top 10 fam. Today we are covering the top 10 punishments in history you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Happy.
Before we get into it, what is the worst way you could possibly think? Comment it now. What the worst way you could possibly be like tortured is. For me, anything being burnt alive is probably there. I mean, every way's bad. There's no good way out of this, but like, because drowning makes me cringe in certain ways. The thought of drowning, the thought of being stabbed, all these different ones, but the thought of burning alive is just like, fuck, it just sounds brutal, man.
Spooky week. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have rats. Man, this one really sums up how terrible human beings can be. Rat torture originated in ancient Rome, and ever since then, it unfortunately has been part of the most horrible, gruesome punishments. What was once called a rat trap involved a man being tied down to something and then a metal enclosure being strapped to his abdomen or chest.
I swear this was on Game of Thrones. I swear this literal punishment was on Game of Thrones. I can't remember where it was, but people were being imprisoned and this is how they were being killed.
Inside this enclosure there are rats, which the strapped down person can feel walking around.
Oh, that is a dirty picture.
And this is when the person instilling the punishment begins heating the other end of the metal enclosure. Historically, hot coals were usually placed on top, which of course very quickly creates a hot environment for the rats inside. From here, the rats begin frantically searching for a way out because just like us, they have survival instincts.
Oh, man.
The metal enclosure is too hard to bite into, but a human's flesh is not. You see where this is going. I don't need to say more, but just know that it is very, very painful and horrible. And to make
Imagine like the feeling of a rat running up and down. Oh my
matters
god.
worse, this is only one of the terrible rat punishments there have been throughout history.
What else is
Maybe
there?
if there's a part 2 of this video, we'll talk about another one.
Oh, I thought you were
In our
gonna bring
ninth
that
spot today,
now.
we have the Brazen Bull, sometimes also referred to
This is the one that I know.
as the Sicilian Bull. This punishment method was created by the ancient Greeks. Basically, they would start by creating a sort of device that was made out of bronze and it was shaped like an actual bull. This bronze sculpture was large enough to fit a person inside, which is an important piece of information because that is exactly what they would do. Once the person was locked inside, a fire would then be set underneath the bronze bull. Of course, like we just learned with the rat trap, this of course would quickly create a very hot environment for the person who was inside. This time, it's not rats, but rather a human who would slowly be roasted to death, essentially in the bronze belly of the bull. Honestly, we're only at number 9 and I already feel sick, so let's keep going. In our number 8 spot today, we have flaying. Well, you've probably heard this word at some point or another, so do I really need to explain it? I guess that's my job, so here goes. Flaying is skinning. It's a
Oh my god, man. The thought of being the thought of someone being able to skin someone in the first place is mental, but the thought of also being skinned is oh bro. How?
extremely painful method of
How
removing
could
skin
you
from
do
the
that
body,
to someone?
usually with the attempt to keep it all intact. Yeah, I think that was probably too much information. Ew. In the early ages, this was a popular method of punishment or a means by which to get a confession, and depending on how far they went, the person may live after or not. It is said that this was a very famous method used in Mesopotamia. Sometimes instead of good old skinning, they instead would remove chunks of flesh. I'm honestly not sure which seems worse. I guess there doesn't have to be a winner. It can just all be bad. Everything on this list is terrible. It's in no particular order. How could I possibly rank these? In our number 7 spot today, we have the breaking wheel. All right, folks, buckle up for this one that was once used as a method of capital punishment. This method was most commonly used in Europe from antiquity through the Middle Ages and into the early modern period. This was a super simple device and it really was just a wheel, but boy, this one was terrible. There are 2 different methods with the breaking wheel. Either the person would be broken on the wheel or by the wheel. So basically, excuse the gruesome descriptions, but if you were broken by the wheel, basically you'd just be placed belly down on a board and then the wheel was slammed down twice on each arm and leg and then on your spine. You'd then be tied to the wheel and hammered to a pole, and the pole would be put up for the victim to be left there to die.
Oh,
yeah, I know,
God.
I said it was gruesome and we still have another one to get through. Being broken on the wheel involved the limbs of the victim being tied to the wheel and then smashed with a club, and in some places the wheel would spin, just to add a little extra terribleness. The number and the sequence in which the smashes were distributed were not random, however, as they were actually determined in court at sentencing. Alright guys, we're almost halfway, so let's keep
in court, bro. The court has changed, man. Prison time has changed. We got it easy now. I mean, this is literally stuff that the courts were deciding. Flip me.
Moving along. In our number 6 spot today, we have death by boiling. Not to be confused with being cooked alive in the Brazen Bull. This is similar but very different. Possibly worse, but again, who knows? How could we possibly tell? This one is exactly what it sounds like, but it could involve either water or oil, and that is one where I feel like I can tell which one would be worse. I'm gonna say oil. I mean, you know when you're frying something up on the stove.
Oh my god, bro. The idea of just boiling from oil, boiling from water obviously is horrible because you sometimes you just touch water and be like, oh, that's hot, but you can sort of take it out quickly and you get a little burn. Sitting in that, I mean, yeah, but oil. Oh my days, that is vile, man.
You either come prepared with a shield for the popping oil or it's every man for themselves. Trying to make a dumpling is now a job for only the SWAT team. This one actually wasn't a super popular method, however, and you want to know why? Not enough blood. Okay, yeah, sorry Jigsaw, next time we'll get right on that for you. In our number 5 spot today, we have the rack. This one is probably one of the most popular on this whole list, which I can't even believe I just said. Basically, the rack was a device that was made out of a wooden rectangle as a frame. The person being punished would have their limbs attached to 4 sides with chains, and then the people doing the punishing, with the help of rollers and pulleys, would stretch out the person till either their limbs were torn clean off from the body, or they just got pulled out from their sockets and couldn't be used anymore. I literally got goosebumps typing up this script. I can't imagine being around in a time when people used to do this. And sometimes it would be like in the town square. Imagine you're just trying to get some fresh air, but as you're strolling, you just happen upon this terrifying scene. I don't know, you guys. This list is just the worst. In our number 4 spot today, we have Crucifixion. This one is obviously quite well known because of its religious affiliations, as this is what is said to have been done to Jesus Christ. This method of punishment involved the person being nailed to a large wooden block, or in the case of Jesus, a cross. After being nailed to this block, the person is then left out in public for people to be able to witness the slow and painful death they are about to experience. Although the story of Jesus has made this form of punishment well known in our modern society, it was actually very popular and there were many more people who were unfortunately subjected to it. Part of the reason for its popularity was because of the terror it created and the fear it instilled in people who broke the law. I mean, I'm sure there was at least one person who thought twice about committing a crime after seeing a public crucifixion. In our number 3 spot today, we have sensory deprivation. We've talked about quite a few physical punishments from history today, but those are not the only kind, so let's take a second to talk about a messed up form of psychological punishment. This specific punishment is often referred to as white torture, and it is a type of sensory deprivation done to prisoners. This is when
you just sit in a white room. You just sit in a white room. Is that literally it? Or is it just an example of what it is? You just sort of see the same colours, or it just makes you go crazy.
Sensory deprivation done to prisoners. This is when their cell, clothes, and even their food are entirely white. All of the guards wear white, all of the lights are on 24/7, and no one speaks any words. This is to take away as much sensory stimulation as possible. One of the most famous cases of this was that of Amir Fakhravar, who was subjected to this sort of thing for 8 months in 2004. After his release, even he himself stated that he was just not a normal person anymore. Surviving some of the other punishments that we've talked about today would certainly leave someone with physical scars, but this one would leave you with scars that can't be seen, and those are just as bad. In our number 2 spot today, we have burning at the stake. Ah yes, fire. The red flower, as they call it in the Jungle Book. In the early ages, people loved a good fire, and I'm not talking about the nice one we all sit around with our friends and family while we make s'mores and recant old tales. No, of course, I'm instead talking about burning someone at the stake. Made famous by the multitude of witch hunts and trials of the past, burning someone at the stake was a popular form of punishment for those who were accused of treason or witchcraft. It was popular for reasons similar to crucifixion because burning someone at the stake was both a spectacle for the dark souls who would want to watch something like that, but it was also—
That was their flipping YouTube back in the day. That was their sort of enjoyment. They'd watch someone get stabbed to death from a boiling metal stick. And I watch videos of them telling me about what used to happen. Changes, man. Time changes. Maybe me 1,000 years ago, I'd have been one of the biggest advocates for this kind of stuff. I'd be like, oh, can't wait to see this tonight, man. Like, that's how we look forward to watching a sports event or watching something on TV that's coming on in a few hours or in a few days. You just get excited for it. That's how people were back in the day, I assume. That's just how it was.
Also
that's crazy to think about.
In our number 1 spot today, we have sawing. Okay, this one pretty much always ended in death, so buckle up. This method was used in different portions of the world, but was mostly seen in Rome, Spain, and some portions of Asia. This is another straightforward one, unfortunately. This would be done to a criminal who had been given the sentence of capital punishment, and it basically just involves them getting sawed in half. That's it. I'm not exactly sure what else to say, to be completely honest. It is said that sometimes the sawing was transversely, and sometimes it was lengthwise, and to that I say, does it even matter?
Which was
There's
this
a
way.
weirdly detailed history about this one, so I think we can all just take a moment of gratitude that these don't exist anymore, and that we don't do this. Because it sounds absolutely terrible. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it. Subscribe if you want.
This was fun. When people say video games cause violence, but you remember that video games weren't around during the Middle Ages. To be honest, regardless of white torture or not, solitary confinement is extremely cruel since it can lead to permanent brain damage. Oh wow. No, I feel bad for Mr. Beast. The inventor of the Brazen Bull was a Greek man named Perilos. He was killed when Phalaris pushed him into the ball that he had created. Perilos was released from it just before death. He was then finished off when they pushed him down a steep hill. How do you know this? How do people know this shit? Literally, when most amazing top 10 uploads videos for us today, that does not make any sense. But yeah, this is nuts, man. The more you know, right? These were brutal. That last one, imagine being cut like sword this way, but you start downwards and it just so. Oh my god, it's never gonna happen to us, so it's good. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon because maybe it will just somehow happen. I'll be speaking it into existence, but touch. Is there any wood anywhere? Touch wood. Doesn't happen. What am I on about? Hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. If you want more stuff like this, suggest it in the comments. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.